Chairman, Federal Inland Revenue Services in Nigeria, Mr. Zacch Adedeji, during an exclusive Renewed Hope virtual town hall conference, narrate the plans and policies of the service to delegates from around the world. His words.
Initial recommendation. Most of the initial recommendation is what we put in place that we are using in most of the things that we are doing now. So a broad explanation of how his vision has really helped us in federal land revenue, that is what I've just explained. Because you've read it in your introductory message, that our work is to assess, to collect, and to keep. So meaning that we are just a consequential agency. So except we have good fundamental economic in place, there may not be anything for us to collect. So that is why all the commendation as far as what we've done in federal land revenue goes to president, because he's the one that has set that wonderful fundamental that have really helped us to do what I can call operational activities from the service. So laying that foundation as I've just laid it, so what have we done in the service? Now, you've alluded to it, that our duty majorly is to assess, to collect, and to keep. For us to effectively assess, so we are just a service provider. And if you are a service provider, you have only one king. You have only one determinant factor. And those are your customer. Today, our customer are taxpayer. And that is what have led us to actually restructure the way we collect taxes in Nigeria today. Prior to our restructuring, the tax structure is that maybe categorized as either by type or you call it using special arrangement or special method of categorizing. But we discover that if we are to play our role that we should play as a premier revenue collecting agency, the taxpayer must be categorized in such a way that we'll be able to serve them better. If you know the analysis that I've just given, the relationship between us and taxpayer are symbiotic. We are not law enforcement agents. We are revenue collecting agency, meaning that it is when our taxpayer, when they do well, that we will do well, because we can only collect from their profit, not from their losses. We can only collect from their returns, not their investment. We can only take out of their fruit, not from their seed. So if that is the kind of relationship we have, we must be able to make sure that they have conducive environment that can bear more returns. They have conducive environment that can bear more fruits so that we can have. So in another word, is just to grow the pie and bring more people into collection bucket. So for us to achieve that, what we've done is to recategorize the structure in service into two. One, to service, and two, to main operation. In main operation, you have a group that you call large tax group, medium tax group, and small tax. And the categorization is by turnover. If your turnover is less than 1 billion, you are small taxpayer. If your turnover is between 1 billion to 5 billion, you are medium. But if you are above 5 billion, you are large tax. And what has that done for us is that we've provided one-stop shop for all our taxpayers. Instead of moving from one office to the other, whether to go and do VAT, do stamp duty, and all other form of taxes, we've created one simple platform for you. Because now, if you are large tax, you go to large tax office. That is where you do all form of taxes, your VAT, your company income tax, and any other form, including your refund. It will be done within that sector. And also, other things we've identified that is a part of problem for our taxpayer, which is multiple audits. You'll be auditing from VAT, you are having it from company income tax. Now, All these have been centralized to the group where you find yourself. And then you have service, because service are the one that the service side of the group is the one that provide the service for the main operation. So you have general, you have people service, because our belief is that the 80% of the work of the service must be done by our people. For us to be able to do that, the people must be trained. And that is why in our major policy pillar, you have our people, you have process, and you have technology. Because in this age, this is the only way we can drive voluntary compliance, which is our vision, which is our goal. So for us, we have structured the service in such a way that will make us to be able to meet the aspiration of Mr. President to be a premier domestic revenue mobilizer for the country. So I'm trying to be specific on the role of the service, and that is the direction. And I'm grateful to my team, from the coordinating directors to the youngest staff that we have, that the kind of cooperation we've seen in the last 1 year is second to none. Most of these successes that we have achieved, just to say that last year we exceed the target that we set for ourselves and the one government set for us. And this one cannot be done except through what those guys have done for us. I mean my team members. And the same thing, the way we are going, the way trajectory is going for our 19 trillion that we set, we are very confident with their support, and most especially with the political will given to us by Mr. President, that we are going to achieve this. Because Mr. President has approved those initiatives for us that will make voluntary tax compliance goals that we set achieved. One of it is to make sure that going forward, all the capital payment to by ministry is going to be paid directly to contractor instead of paying it to ministry. This one has helped the cash flow and also helped the accurate remittance of all the accruable taxes that is due. Not only that, Mr. President also approved recently, if you've been following, that we should embark on national single window projects. This is a game changer, as Mr. President has said, because most especially a lot of us, one of the problems we complain about is the clearing process that we have at the port, which is not due to lapses of any, it's just that the time has come that we need to apply technology in the way we get things done. And this one has significant effects on what happened to the business. For example, if your raw material that you need to use to produce, through which we will get profit, instead of staying 30 days at the port, you can clear them in 48 hours. That means your turnover, your cash flow that you do, your working capital, you can turn them around a lot more better compared to when the container, you have to pay demurrage and the rest. Not only that, it helps because it reduces a lot of red tapes that may come, because there will be minimal physical intervention between your product and the way it gets to the final consumer. So all these things is what Mr. President has done. Not only that, also just last week, Mr. President approved the commencement of consumer credit. Because if you follow what I've just explained from the beginning, it is when the economy is doing well that federal revenue can do well. Because we can only collect from their profit, we can only collect from their returns, we can only collect from their fruit. So we need to do those things that will ginger, will stimulate the economy. And Mr. President just approved the commencement of consumer credit, which will empower a lot of people to actually have the capacity, will increase the purchasing power of our citizens. And this one will start, and then there's last check, more than 2 million have already applied. And this one has a feedback or a chain or ripple reaction to other, because the manufacturer, the producer, instead of only sell to those people that have cash, they can now sell to those people that have certainty of income, which is the way it is done in every advanced economy. Because there is no way we will reach our $1 trillion target, $1 trillion target using cash economy. So Mr. President just approved that we commence that. So when you put all these buckets of initiatives that is being courageously led by Mr. President, you will see that we are on the right trajectory to achieve our goal, to achieve our aim. So for us, in Federal Land Revenue Services, it has not been easy, but we are encouraged. We are motivated by the kind of staff that we have, with the kind of team spirit and commitment and patriotism that we've seen from them, and also from Nigeria. And because you begin to see that all those things that we put together have started yielding results, most especially in Renew Hope infrastructure that Mr. President just approved that we launch, and in many other initiatives that is going on, improving security that I'm aware of, because I know what Mr. President has done, and then many other initiatives that we know that will give us good results, and then Nigeria will be better for it. For us in Nigeria, definitely we are on progressive tax system. But the problem, the difference is that for federal inland revenue, we concentrate only on collecting corporate income taxes. Unlike the way it is done elsewhere, where the payee, that is personal income taxes, is paid to central revenue agency, as is done in many other places, where the real progressiveness of taxes is being displayed. Because what it means is that who earn more must pay more. That is the definition of progressive tax structure. But because the real focus we have here is actually on company income taxes, which is the regular one, and indirect taxes, which are VAT, which there is no way you can actually measure the progressiveness in VAT collection. Because if you get involved in value-adding activities, you just have to pay. And if you are the company, you do that, you pay. The more you generate, the more you pay, because we have tax rate that has profit as the base. So the more profits you generate, the more we collect from you. So we subscribe to that progressive tax system, and we make sure that we just want to assess fairly that people actually pay the right fare, the right portion of their taxes. On the structural thing that we put in place, because this is part of, I don't know to what extent I can reveal, because these are live programs. Those people that are trying to evade also, they'll be listening. But one thing I can tell you is that we rely so much on data and technology to drive our voluntary tax compliance. Today, it is a law in Nigeria that everybody above 16 years of age must have NIN. Going forward, by God's grace, one of the initiatives that is coming after our first year in the office is making sure that the primary source of identification for everybody in Nigeria, not only for taxes, is NIN. And then when you have this being the only base of identification, what that would do for us is that your bank account, your card, everything that you do is linked to that card and to that number. And from there, we can have wonderful analysis to show whether you are paying your fair share. Today, because we have this segregated way of identification, and because it's not been tollgate properly, that is why you see some people trying to evade. But going forward, by God's grace, by use of technology and data, we have proper plan and structure in place, make sure that we achieve that kind of tax voluntary that we want to do. Now, to my brother on tax on commission, like what I just explained, the first one, there should not, tax on commission should not be separated. As long as you have company and the commission is your income. So what I expect is that when you do your tax filing, you should show us this is the total income you've collected, this is your expenses, and then this is profit before tax, and you apply the tax rate that is appropriate to your kind of business, and that it is so. And so I don't expect that they begin to tax different line of income. They're saying that they've deducted taxes, right? They might have deducted VAT or withholding taxes. Withholding tax is not another type of tax. Withholding tax is prepaid tax. The essence of that is that if you have some activities that except the tax is withheld, there is no way tax authority will know. But it is your right to ask for the receipt. And the implication of receipt is that by the time you do your annual tax filing, and a lot of people have withheld tax from you, you need to present that receipt and say, truly, my tax is 10 million to be paid, but during the year, I have paid withholding tax amounting to 2 million. So less it from my taxes. So because withholding taxes is not another type of taxes, it is just a prepaid tax. And when you do that, so I don't think that they will still come and say they want to do line item taxes. And don't forget, your income is what we are after, not your investment, not your loan. So that is why it is in the interest of the service and in general interest of the country that you engage in the profitable activities, because that is when it is win-win for all of us. Now you talk about the single digit rate. That is Mr. President's mandate. And what it means, because we've done an analysis, like less than 8 types of taxes accounted for more than 87% of the total tax we collect. So the other more than 60 form of taxes that we have has no contribution other than problem to us. And that is why Mr. President have given the mandate that by the time the committee finished their job, we will have just one single digit type of taxes, meaning that we'll have harmonized all the taxes we have, that won't be paying more than 9 types of taxes. And this one will seek the cooperation of the state government, because you know Nigeria is a federating country. So the state, the local government, they also have what they charge, but we are having wonderful consultation with them, and they are cooperating thus far to make sure that for us to be more competitive, most especially in the global business, we should have this being done. So I think, so that is what we have. On tax compliance, like I said, that what it is our aim. Number one, that drive compliance is people having trust in the government. That people understand what we are using their money for. And that is why you see Mr. President working day and night to rebuild that trust within the citizen. So when people are well secured, when the infrastructure is there, and you see the step Mr. President just, the step he took just recently by allowing part of education tax to be source of funding for student loan, because Mr. President's aim is that if you are well educated, you will contribute more to the development of your country, and in this case of Nigeria, than when you are not well educated. So Mr. President, in order to remove the impediment to this, to getting this higher education, he said, use certain part of education tax you collect, use it for student loan. The same thing is doing in the infrastructure fund that we want to do. Now let's lift our infrastructure, because for us to actually develop, we must develop both our infrastructure and agriculture to secure, to make sure we have food security. It is then that we can have secure country. So Mr. President is doing his part to make sure the people actually trust the government, and we also, like I have just explained, doing the structure to make sure that the voluntary compliance through effective enforcement is done. So for us, a lot of plans we put in place. But another thing, which is why we are working in collaboration with states, a lot of these evasion happen at the state level, where most of the states internal generating agency, whether because of capacity and the way things works today, the taxpayer escaped their net, because most of individual that actually pay taxes to state government. So we have system in place, most especially this time, technology and data to drive this voluntary compliance. And then with the kind of thing Mr. President is doing, the trust that people will have in government will continue to grow. You asked one question, how do we know level of compliance? Now, we have set certain target for ourselves, and the target is that in the next 3 years, our tax to GDP to be 18%, which is what our peers around the world are doing. So the question is that depending the level that we use to determine to what extent is the level of compliance, is the percentage of our tax that we've collected to the GDP that we have. And then that one is also by data and technology. My other colleague asked about 19 trillion target that we have. If you look at my quarterly report that I just released last week, you will see that I've highlighted what we've done right and then what we need to improve on. And then with the level of the thing that is going on in the economy now, I'm very sure that 19 trillion is achievable. Like I said, for us in the service, we had to assess, collect, and keep. The real activities is what is happening in the economy, because if it is the result of the economic activities that we tax. So that is why we focus and we work more on getting the economic right, which Mr. President is doing wonderfully well on. So achieving 19 trillion, I think, is doable. My brother from Sweden asked question on improving VAT. The only way for us to do that is the automation that we are doing, because that is the best way to get it done. Because you can imagine 200 million Nigeria transacting day and night. Many people will do VAT activities that is more than 10 times in a day. So we have put a lot in automation in the area of VAT collection, which is one of the most sustainable way actually to mobilize revenue domestically. So we are working seriously on that. So the answer to that is just on automation. And then you talk about allowances. I understand that one of the work we are doing in Federal Land Revenue Service is to provide the advisory role or advisory services to taxpayer to actually allow them to know their rights. Because if we are to assess fairly, they must know what is allowable, what is not. So we will continue this advocacy and let people know what is allowable, what is not allowable by the kind of service that we render to them. So, and that is what we believe. Through that, they will know their rights. Like I said earlier, Federal Land Revenue is not a law enforcement agent. We are revenue collecting agency. On the education and the advocacy, because my brother here in Lagos said that people in grassroots needs to know this, we will continue to advocate and let people know their rights as far as tax is concerned. And most importantly, the most wonderful publicity will be what we've used the tax that we've collected for. So it is part of our plan, as we've said, that the wonderful work that Mr. President is doing around the clock and within and around the country, that people get to know, and they should have it at the back of their mind that the source of funding is the taxes that they are paying. So we will continue those advocacy in those two ways in our action by making sure that we attend to the need of the citizen, and also through the mode of publicity that we have. The next one is on the logistics problem that we have. I agree quite well with Professor. And funny enough, I'm actually from one of those areas where he mentioned that he has visited. But you know, Nigeria is very big. That is why you see recently, Mr. President launched the New Hope Infrastructure Fund. And the essence of that, because based on Mr. President's belief, is that except we develop our infrastructure and we have food security, there can hardly be any development that can come. If you see the way Mr. President has divided the Nigerian map now, this kind of logistic problem will soon be thing of the past. Because one of the reasons of the Renew Hope infrastructure or goals that is set in the Renew Hope infrastructure one, we are doing Lagos Calabar Coastal Road. Very soon, Sokoto Badagry. Very soon, we will complete Lagos Kano Rail, and then also Port Harcourt to Maiduguri. When these big infrastructure that we have, by the time they are done, so the issue of logistics will be thing of the past. Because then what will happen when you have Sokoto Badagry done? What it means is that whatever that is produced at that far north will take only 11 hours to get to the sea. And what that means is that 11 hours to the world. The same thing, anything we bring from the world, from the sea, it takes less than 11 hours to get to the north. So what that means is also that whether it's improved Sydney, it's chemical, it's anything that you have, the distribution will be improved. Not only that, when you have that kind of infrastructure, the corridor there, you have the strategic reserves, the good agriculture, and all those things will be done. So that is why Mr. President has said that the solution to what we have now, most especially as far as infrastructure is concerned, is to go through that Renew Hope Infrastructure Fund. Because in there, we will have our port optimization, you will have upgrade to our airport, and then agriculture will be given a wonderful place in that place. Not only that, I explained earlier that the principle and spirit of single window that Mr. President launched recently is to resolve this logistics problem as explained by the Prof. So we are in the right place, and then we are following the right path to make sure that all these identified problems are resolved on time. And then my brother from Paris spoke about VAT receipt. I think possibly you may have to check back because we have automated the process of getting the receipt and to get all these things done. So possibly in the kind of the industry you have, maybe the next. But I know that a lot of work is being done on VAT automation, not only on collection, reconciliation, refund, and all whatnot that has to do with it. So I think we are focusing more on that. So I think that is the, and then for the road and the rest, like I said, I will make sure that I communicate that to Honorable Minister of Works. And then on the dichotomy between HND, I think that is Ministry of Education. I will take notes and I will let them know what people actually want from them. The first one is for Mr. FIRS Requete, saying that they understand the pressure now in the country, that want a specific word from us that the tax is not to be increased. And if you followed my analysis, even Mr. President's statement from beginning, even without the current situation we have, it is Mr. President's directive and to us that we are not going to increase any form of taxes. And that is why we've talked that we will rather grow the pie. We will increase efficiency in collection of the existing taxes that we have. And that is what we are doing. If you actually look at it, we are saying from more than 65 type of taxes that we have, we want to harmonize, consolidate them only to like 9. that are effective and that we know that it's not detriment to the growth of the business. So specifically, we are not going to increase the burden of taxes to any Nigeria. What we focus on is effectiveness and efficiency in collection and usage of the tax proceeds that we have. So that is why we say when we say we want to increase, that is the point that we've made. The second question is from my colleague consultant on harmonization of taxes. If you listen to my introduction, I made it clear that one of the reasons why we have to restructure Federal Land Revenue Service along customer line or be customer centric is to make sure that we provide only one-stop shop for them. Meaning that instead of this multiple audits that we just complained about, we also recognize it as a problem. And that is why going forward, effective January, if you look at it, anyone that you may have now, I can bet it with you, that must predate January 2024. If you look at from January now, we've consolidated everything. That is either you are a small taxpayer, you are a medium taxpayer, or you are a large taxpayer. And the audit also is harmonized, is consolidated within those groups. So you cannot have that kind of multiple audit like say there's VAT, stamp duty, all those ones. We identify that as a problem, and that is why we have to make the changes. That is why we will go towards the restructuring that we've got now. So I don't expect that we have that. Now, on the withholding tax credit, most especially from foreign transactions, the problem you see there, which we are trying to resolve now, actually we are testing the system, is because anything that has to do with international payment will involve Central Bank of Nigeria, because any dollar payment goes to reserves. So the reconciliation is not as direct as what you have within the country, where if you pay within tax promax within the country, it is easier. So we just finished the consultation and consolidation of our system. I put it proper, the integration of our system with Central Bank of Nigeria to make sure that going forward, all those credits will be taken into consideration. But for my consultant, the specific I can give you is that I'm working from Lagos, God's willing, today, Monday and Tuesday. So if you are anywhere close to Lagos, or if you have any tax office, just give them that, giving you this directive, that you can reach to me directly on this particular case so that we can get that resolved forthwith. So that is what I will do on that. I'm in Lagos, and I know that for you to definitely belong to whether large taxpayer, working for Chevron, your turnover, I know, more than 2 billion. So I'll be available. The next one is on tax code simplification. Well, we will continue to work on that to make sure that our tax code is simple, and as part of the work of the committee, even to make the wordings of the law very simple and can accommodate today's interpretation. So we'll continue to work on that. And then how the profit calculated, like I said, tax will continue to be a technical work, not only in this climate, everywhere. So we'll continue to try to simplify it, and we'll do what we think will make it easier for our customer, in this case, taxpayer, to be able to do it. And I've taken notes on CAC requirement. I will have to have this conversation with registrar to take your input, most especially for those that don't that does not need to be audited. I agree with you 100% that we need to simplify, because when it comes so simple, it's easy to follow and difficult to evade. We will definitely continue in that trajectory to continue to improve how to make the tax code get simpler for our people. Number 2 is on the tax collected by the bank. My understanding is that bank are the collecting agent for Federal Inland Revenue just because of the way it is easier for them, most especially withholding tax on dividend, withholding tax on interest, and also VAT. Not only that, the electronic money transfer. So all money collected by the bank is actually with the knowledge of the government and the knowledge of the service. So we are aware of it, and they are allowed just by our regulation and the extant law to get them collected. So I think that is it. And like I said, I will look forward to receive, most especially from my diasporal experts, the best thing that they've seen or the best suggestion they've seen, most especially from where they are, which are those places we are aspiring to be like in voluntary compliance. The moderator will share my email address. So if I can get suggestion or any recommendation or the best way or the best in class that they think we can use to improve, we will definitely be open to that. Nigeria belongs to all of us, and it can never be work of one person. Thank you very much. I'm extremely sorry for this because my plan is that it will take 1.5 hours. That's what I thought, because I have here with me in Lagos Association of Tax Administrators in Africa. They've come here for our annual conference, and we are opening the meeting in the next 20 minutes. And as the host, I don't want to get late to it. So that is why I pleaded, and I will always be available to have rematch or continuation of this as the schedule of the presenter permits. I'd love to have this kind of conversation, have this kind of consultation, most especially wonderful recommendation coming from practitioners, most especially consultants, and this also shows how people are taking the policy, and then we can use it to actually go amend and correct or even taking their input. So once again, I'm sorry that I have to leave now, and I give the open check that definitely I will always answer you if you call me 10 times. So thank you very much. I'm grateful. And for those hands, my email will be there. They can send their the question. I will definitely respond to all of them in the next 48 hours if I have them.